us about that. You mentioned that earlier. What is the
Sure.
entourage effect?
So the entourage effect, is not specific to cannabis, but has been used. The entourage effect and full spectrum have been used widely in the CBD industry to describe whole plant extract, essentially, and it's very kind of loosely defined. For a full spectrum product can be anywhere from CO2 extracted CBD that does not contain waxes, lipids, chlorophyll, etc., the heavier compounds. So it's like a clearer consistency extract, all the way up to ethanol, which extracts a much wider range of compounds. So it's a bit of a spectrum in terms of the definition, what you can claim to be full spectrum. Of course, there's no rules for that. But when I was working with Vermont Pure CBD, our ideology was that because ethanol extracts the widest array of compounds from the plant, a whole plant extract, that should be what we call full spectrum. In terms of the entourage effect, specifically for cannabis, that would be the interactions of THC with CBD, the interactions of any of those cannabinoids with terpenoids, with flavonoids, with oils that are either put in the product or naturally occurring in the plant, including chlorophyll, which is good for digestion, including waxes, which have a lot of benefits for digestion as well. So all those things working together to create a synergistic effect. Now that applies to all plant medicine. We have a tendency culturally and as humanity to try to find the very essence of things. So we're always breaking things apart, and then a pharmaceutical typically contains one single ingredient. In terms of plant medicine, it's shown over and over again that the wide array of compounds in any given plant, the whole plant extract is always more effective.
So it's a little bit more of that benefit of diversity.
Absolutely, yeah, and it has to do with the way our body, how one chemical will affect another. The greatest instance of that, of course, is the interaction between THC and CBD. We'll, of course, segue right into the endocannabinoid system. With that, the endocannabinoid system, of course, unlike the digestive system, which is a single track and is, you can say, here's the digestive system, it's made up of this organ. The endocannabinoid system is kind of segmented throughout the entire body, and CB1 receptors are located on mostly the central nervous system, the brain, but also occur on a lot of organs. And CB2 receptors are more catered towards immune defense. So you find them more in the immunological systems, liver, pancreas, a lot in the lower systems of the body. So those receptors attach to cannabinoids, and cannabinoids are not exclusive to cannabis by any means. Our body produces natural cannabinoids, I'm not going to pronounce it right. Adenamide and AEA are the two prominent ones. Our body produces them naturally, and they attach to these receptors and regulate the functions of the body so that we can maintain a healthy state of being, or homeostasis, at all times. So our immune system is often thrown out of its normal state of well-being in instances of fight or flight. If you're stressed out, if you're not sleeping correctly, and cannabinoids help bring the body back to a natural and healthy state. So our body does this naturally. There are also cannabinoids in lots of food. There's a cannabinoid in echinacea that's very very useful. There's caryophyllene, which is a terpene, but also a cannabinoid, binds to cannabinoid receptors or within that cannabinoid system. THC and denamide, or AEA rather, are the two that I can think of that actually directly bind to CB1 and CB2 receptors. So they directly antagonize the endocannabinoid system, which is part of the reason why you smoke THC, it directly binds to CB1 receptors. You have a distinct feeling. And denamide, which is responsible for the runner's high, also directly antagonizes CB1 receptors. So there's a distinct reaction from endocannabinoid receptors binding to those type of cannabinoids. There are other parts of the endocannabinoid system that are kind of peripheral. For example, CBD does not bind to either CB1 or CB2 receptors. They bind to an allosteric site on the neuron and affect how CB1 and CB2 receptors interpret cannabinoids. So it's within that same system, but they don't actually bind to the receptors themselves. CBD actually binds to a TPR1 vanilloid receptor, which is the same receptor that capsaicin binds to from peppers. So in that way, CBD can actually affect the way THC affects the body. So it actually can suppress, some of the effects that THC has, paranoia.
So it's the Narcan of weed.
Sure, yeah, in ways, yeah, absolutely. And there are other, peripheral interactions within the endocannabinoid system that lead to that entourage type effect. So, pure THC can be very overstimulating. And
especially if you eat it.
Sure, yeah, sure, absolutely. And actually, the overstimulation of the endocannabinoid system can be an issue in terms of homeostasis. So it's not just about cannabinoids in general being effective for maintaining balance in the body. It's about, how do each individual cannabinoid and or terpene or flavonoid or these other things interact with the endocannabinoid system, how they work together to create an overall effect.